Gracias a todos por estar aquí, perdón la tardanza, problemas técnicos, pero bueno, la tecnología no nos ayuda mucho. How's your Spanish?
Very bad.
Okay. No, that's very good. La plática va a ser en inglés. Estamos muy contentos de que Nicky Haas nos pudo venir a acompañar. Nos va a platicar un poco de su trabajo y lo que nos interesa más también es abrir la conversación a preguntas y respuestas. Nicky y su hermano Simon son artistas. Nicky estudió más bien música, ¿no? Simon se fue a estudiar al RSD y Nicky decidió irse por el camino de la música. Su mamá, bueno, son hijos de su mamá, canta ópera, ¿no? Y su papá es artista escultor y tienen un hermano también cantante, another brother, ¿no? Ajá, cantante y actor. Y entonces con toda esta influencia de pronto decidieron los hermanos irse por su cuenta y se reunieron en 2007. When did you reunite? When did you en 2010, perdón. Y de ahí empezaron a hacer todas estas maravillas, locuras increíbles que ahorita nos va a platicar un poco más. Y bueno, si han visto un poco de su trabajo es mucho más en una parte expresiva emocional que esta visión que tenemos del diseño que tiene que ser formal y funcional, ¿no? Entonces me parece increíble que tengamos la presencia de Nicky aquí para que nos cuente este otro lado del diseño y de sus piezas que están en la galería de Art & Company también. So, voy a switchar a inglés, si todos están bien con eso, y que Nicky nos empiece a platicar un poquito. So, Nicky, thank you for coming, it's an honor.
Yes, thanks for having me. Sorry I don't speak Spanish very well.
It's fine, it's fine. It's your first time in Mexico City, no?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so why don't you tell us a little bit about how you started and what's happening, and then maybe if you need tiny images and if people can see them, we can start talking about it.
My father was a stonemason, so he made like countertops and fireplaces and sinks and stuff. And so my twin brother Simon and I, from a very young age, were doing construction. So at one point, we both ended up in LA in 2010 and decided to open a cabinet business to start building architectural cabinetry, some furniture stuff, but it was more like a construction job. And so we opened a studio to make cabinets, and then eventually started making furniture. We met Evan and Zesty from Art & Company, our gallery, and they saw some of the stuff that we'd made, and we made some weird, like a stool and a vase, and it sold really well, and then so we just kept making it, and then eventually it's like high-end design, and then it sort of became like art, I suppose, but it depends on who you ask. I think some people really think it's not art, and other people really do. So
it's a thin line.
It's a thin line,
it's
yeah.
A very thin line.
But it's funny, like some people could give a shit, you know, what it is, but others are like really like, no, that is not art, and then other people are like, no, it definitely is. So,
I remember last year Bradman was here, Bradman from Design Miami, and he was saying also like it's the coming back of the decorative arts, no? That's in the middle, but it's also like this. It's not like functional design, no? And it's not like the historic design, but it's this new amazing pieces that's also in this thin line, but it makes people talk about it.
I think if you just approach it from aesthetically what it is, and if you just see an object in person like at a fair like this, then it is difficult to sort of discern whether it's art or not. But from where I'm coming from and my twin brother Simon's coming from, when you're making work that is, I know it's funny to make money part of the issue, but that's selling for what it's selling for at this level, you need to offer more than just an aesthetic or a functionality.
Of course. So
we really try to create lots of concept and lots of community support behind the work that we're making. So whether it's a chair, which is design, or whether it's a painting, which is art, to me it's more about what's behind it. So we're expressing from a place where like we put a lot of conceptual and community support value into what we're doing, whether it's design or art or whatever anybody thinks it is. So, yeah.
Like for you it's the same, no?
Yeah.
What comes after, if it's in the art, it's okay. If it's in the design, it's... So what was I mean, you started selling these after the cabinets. What was the first piece that it was like the?
Yeah, we make these things that we call hex stools that are sort of like three-legged things. They have this process that my brother invented that's like brass mosaic. So it's little hexagonal tiles. That was one of the first things we made. We also made these cast bronze vases called hematite vases that sort of look like a poop or like an organ, sort of. We made those, and then our first ceramics, which were like these tubes that have this another process my brother invented with accretion, is what we call it. And those were the first three pieces that we showed with R, and then that sort of started. So it was like a vase, two vases, and a chair. Okay. So those were strictly design and functional. So now, for instance, our ceramics are still technically the same thing. They're still accretions, but they're completely non-functional. You couldn't really put a flower in them, but before you really could. So maybe that's why it's not design now. It's more of like little sculptures. Yeah, but that's how we started, was with those three. That's when we were making stuff as the Haas brothers. Okay. And where we were just expressing from where someone, Evan was just like, make whatever you want to make. Like, whoa, okay, cool, because usually we get like architectural plans and just fabricate something.
And I need something for this space, no?
So that was the first time we just made something crazy, and then, so it started with very small, and then now it's like out of control and big and crazy and super cool.
So you're producing non-stop now?
Yeah, we make a lot of work, which is fun. Like me personally, like I sculpt every day, tons of stuff. Little sculptures or reliefs or chairs or whatever. I have a whole bank of things that I make everything out of plastiline now, which is like oil clay, and which is awesome because you can make something really meticulous and then you just crush it up and make something else. So we'll 3D scan everything, which is great. So I have a bank of like 40 or 50 digital sculptures a month. So I have like hundreds of thousands of just little sculptures that could be made at any point in time out of stone or bronze or whatever. So for me, I like to stay really active. So it doesn't mean we make that many pieces, but we have the ability to like go back through the bank and use them eventually. So, which is cool.
That's super cool. But
yeah, it's fun.
Tell us a little bit more that your brother Simon, he's like the scientist, no? Or like the...
He's like a material scientist,
and you're like the expressive... How does that combo work? No?
It works really well because Simon, well, for instance, he'll come up with like a ceramic process, like accretion that I keep talking about, and then I get to sculpt things for now 2.5, 3 years after he invented that process. Or hex style, same thing. He'll make this amazing, process that I then get to draw off of for as long as it feels fun to do it. So it's great. Like Simon's more of a solitary worker and just coming up with ideas, and then I'll come upstairs into our office and talk to him for a second, and like it's also like a lot of like philosophy goes into it, talking back and forth, like why are we making this, like how does this help anybody outside of ourselves in this reality, and what's the point of making work like this. So like a lot of our interaction, yes, there's like physical fruition of the stuff that we make together, but it's also a lot of it is just like mental, abstract that sort of dictates why and where and when we make work, if that makes sense.
I think it makes sense.
Cool.
That's very cool, yeah. Because I was reading a little bit about the hexas, that it was like the hexagon, and then how it's a perfect shape, and then like how you make a perfect shape becomes so organic and
it's hard,
like animal-wise, no? Like many of your pieces have these animal life characteristics, no? You could say, which I love, no? But it's super nice how you put this like structure, the material, like how you said, it's like a design process, no? That you follow all the way, and then you come with these amazing expressive pieces.
It's pretty cool. It's fun. I mean, look, we're so lucky to get to do what we do. We like basically fuck around and get paid to do it. It's really cool. We make super weird stuff, and it's rad stuff. It's like, it's awesome. It's like a fantasy. We go into our studio every day. We have 8 employees that work with us that are all very much a part of the creative process as well, and it's like a family.
And your employees are like designers, artists, how?
They're all super talented. talented, and I know that at some point they'll all be successful on their own as well, and I'm really trying to incubate that and make it, because for me it's like the community aspect of stuff is the art piece as well as the actual physical piece. So like I think of my studio as like the greatest incubator that I could possibly create, and Simon and I, my twin, are really lucky to get to have all the people that work with us, because you know, we've had 3 years now with not one turnover, meaning like we haven't hired or fired somebody for 3 years.
That's cool.
It's amazing,
Yeah.
and it's because everyone is happy and loves working there. It's kind of like a hippie commune kind of you know, like
it is.
Yeah, it really is. Like, you know, but the reason it works is because everybody involved sincerely wants to do their best, and
they're really into
it. And I don't know how we ended up with like I don't have any management experience or anything like that, but somehow we have this like perfect utopian studio that just works so well. It's super lucky. Have you been to our studio?
No,
you gotta check it out.
I have to go. Yeah,
it's cool. But anyways, it's just a weird spot where like there's just lots of freedom of thought, and luckily we have the ability to physically make our ideas, and it's cool. I'm super proud and super lucky to get to be a part of it.
And
so
it's awesome because like everything you've been talking about, it's just like happened organic, no?
Very organically.
That you never thought of working with your brother, having a studio, having this.
I didn't want to be an artist. I wanted to be a ice hockey player.
Ice hockey player.
I was really serious. I still play now. I'm really good at it, and I was great back then. And I was like, just not quite good enough to play professionally. And so, I never thought of being an artist. I never went to school for it. I didn't even take art class in high school, but I knew how to do construction. So I don't know. It just felt. It just happened, yeah. That's kind of like how life is, man. You gotta like go with the flow. Yeah. And I don't know if I'm gonna be doing this forever either, you know. Like,
but it's the nice.
But it's awesome
the right moment now.
Yeah, just let it happen. Like go with the be happy. You know what I mean? I don't know. In America, that's a weird thought. I feel like maybe down here you guys are like more about going with the flow. But,
no, not here. It's fine. Yeah.
But
that's the happy hippie commune, you could say, no?
Yeah, totally.
So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit of another project, or maybe, I mean, we have tiny images, but if you want to tell the story of another project, and we
sure. You mean the Afriques in particular?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Well, we did this. I don't know if you guys can see what's going on up on the screen, but
can you see a little bit?
There's like these. Here, let's see. These are some of these women that we worked with in Africa. They're sitting on the work that we made together. It's all beads. So these are like islands that are.
But these beads are tiny beads, no?
Tiny.
Here you know the huicholes, they work with chaquiras all the
it was
time.
something similar to that.
Una técnica muy huichola.
Like around that size, and so like that yellow and red thing is like 7.5 feet tall.
So super grande.
Out of like solid beads, and let's see if.
And those are part of the Copper Hewitt collection, no?
Yeah, we showed them at the Smithsonian Design Museum. So actually what happened is we met with this curator, Andrea Lips, who's really cool. She's a curator for Smithsonian Design Museum in New York for Copper Hewitt. And she asked us to make something that was beautiful. Like they were doing this triennial on the subject of beauty.
Yeah.
And they had like 7 different types of beauty, like ethereal beauty or like aesthetic beauty. They gave us transgressive, which is transgressive beauty, which is sort of like rebellious or like out of the. I think they wanted us to make something sexual because we make lots of like big vaginas and dicks and stuff like that. That we're talking about. But because we felt like they were asking us to do that, it wouldn't be transgressive if we gave them what they were asking for.
It was like an easy, yeah.
So what we decided to do was instead to take our first major museum show and give away the credit. Like that was our transgression, was to create a new market.
Okay.
So. Or a new economy, I guess, is what we're talking about. So what we wanted to do was take the Western economy of the art world that is sort of this like majorly inflated, super, there's lots of money, it's very well endowed, and bring it to a community, Kailicha in South Africa, where it's like post-apartheid, just horrid mess, you know.
How did you get to these communities?
We were just there giving a talk, kind of like this.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And we just met, I don't know, we were like hanging out in a fair, and we met this woman named Cecilia, who's like a Sangoma, it's like a Osa holy woman, and she had like half a head of hair and one blind eye, and just like crazy, like had seen the mermaid that burned her eye out and all this stuff. And seeing a mermaid's like you gain knowledge and become like a holy person after that. It was crazy. It was just like this totally foreign thing where we're like talking to this woman and she's like telling us about how she saw this mermaid and we're like, okay, sure, what? But then they were making stuff like this. I mean, different. But they were making beaded like objects, and they were selling something like this size for like $40 or $50 like at a fair. But it'd take them like 2 weeks to make it, and then they'd split it in half, so $25 for 2 weeks of work. Crazy, just not enough money. Like the best that they could hope to make is like $1,200 a year. Their communities are 85% unemployed, so it's like one person is supporting like 8 family members on $1,200 a year. Whatever you get it, it's really destitute and horrible.
Of course.
But so our thought was we can collaborate with these women that aren't taken seriously in their own community, which arguably you could say that women in general are not taken as seriously as they should be. But this place in particular, that they could make work that is being shown in a reputable American museum, that their names will be on the project, that they did it as equally with us, and that they'll get paid a salary and very well, to the point where they're like saving and creating new businesses and buying homes and doing all this stuff. So it completely changed their lives financially, but also like empowered them creatively. So when I was talking about like what makes art and what makes design, like to me it can be design and it can be art, but the thing that makes it art is that it has a hope and a thought to be reaching towards something bigger than just an aesthetic. So to me, like creating a community supportive project, that is the art piece. The things that are left over afterwards, like the beaded toys and all kinds of things, those are super cool, but they're sort of relics of the bigger vision. That is the concept, right? So there's plenty of art that exists with zero concept behind it, and from my perspective it's not really art, if that makes sense. And there's plenty of design that is heavy and capable in that way, which in my mind is 100% art. So I don't know, that was a project we did that I was super proud of. It nailed a lot of things that I want as an artist, that Simon wants as an artist. It was amazing. It was a cool project.
And it's a happy project, really. It's a happy project. Now you can feel it with the pieces, not like they send the message.
Why like there's so many artists who are like, oh, I'm so tortured and I have to like work alone and I can't talk to people, and it's like, for me it's like making work is like, having a good time and chilling out and feeling it.
And you're still working with them. You're making more pieces with them.
Well, so I've talked a lot to a lot of people that run nonprofits and community support projects, and it's like we're like 3.5 years deep, and really to make a project have a major like lasting impact, it needs to last like 7 to 10 years. So my goal is to like keep this running for 10 years, so that by the time we're finished, the women that we worked with are standing on their own, and not only do they not need us, they're like fully creating their own businesses, which they've started to do, but they're not developed, and they need the income to like keep everything rolling. So I hope we do it for 10 years. That's the goal.
That would be awesome. Like in Mexico happens a lot with the communities. Designers are starting to work a lot with communities. But it's like what you say, it depends in the market and the pieces they sell that they can continue to
Luckily, we've been really lucky. We have a lot of commission sales, and so it's basically been we basically sold out of everything. We're sort of like commission running stuff, so it's been working. Like I think we probably have work for another 4 or 5 years. So that puts us at the 8-year mark, 8.5. So we're in that zone already, which is great.
That's And how do you work with them? You work together to make the pieces, or you send them drawings and talk back and forth?
It just depends. Like we go to South Africa a lot. I have to go to March again, and like we'll just sit down and make drawings, and they're really cool. It was funny because there was like a good 2 months where we were hanging out and talking, and they were really closed off. Understandably, like a white guy comes in, why the hell would they like? We represent the suppressor.
Why
like
are you telling me what to do?
Yeah, exactly. But then I think they realized that we just wanted to like have fun, and we wanted their input, and so we were sketching together, and like I can draw, so I'll sit there and I'll draw, and they'll be like, "That's dumb, I don't like that idea." And we're like, "Okay, cool. Well, what do you want to do?" And then that's actually how we initially started. Is they were like, "That's a stupid idea." I was like, "Well, you have opinion. That's great. Like, what? Let's keep working on it." So there's a lot of like sketching with them. They do all the beading, so there's tons of expression inside of like the patterns and textures and stuff that they put onto things. Also, like once we agree on a drawing, they'll start to fabricate it, and it sometimes doesn't look anything like the drawing at all, which is awesome. It's so cool, which is a little bit of a problem when it comes to commission pieces. Like we really tell the client ahead of time, like this is an idea. It might not look anything like this when you get it, which is why it's special, right? Like to worry about the aesthetic of something and miss the mark of getting to allow a woman in Kailicha to express herself, you've negated the whole point of the art piece, if that makes sense.
It makes total sense.
So that's when like an artist like me can be considered like eccentric, because it's like you just get what you get because it's like a social project. But it's true.
And you're gonna
that's
get
what makes it
amazing.
art.
No, of course.
Exactly. But no one's complaining. That's the thing. That's a good thing, is like everybody understands that and like understands the effect of the project and what it's really supposed to do. So, which is cool. I mean, it's been really fun project to work on. So,
super fun. I think it's a happy and the beauty project also. No? Like it made good sense. All the actors in the project.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was super fun.
I love it.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about. This project was before, no? The Beasts?
Yeah,
and
the Beasts.
The Beasts are over here and people can see them, no? And maybe you can talk a little bit.
So I was driving through Iceland, which was really cool. Iceland is so beautiful.
From Africa, we go to Iceland.
Yeah. Well, so Iceland happened first, and I was there. I was like, a friend of mine is a photographer. This guy Mason Poole, and he was shooting a story for Vogue. And I got my wife was styling the shoot, and I was the backup photographer.
Okay.
So I was just taking photos. And so we were all in Iceland doing a story for Vogue, and it was like me and my wife and my friend Mason and like 2 models that were part of it. And we were just driving around, and we like stopped at a gas station. And I don't know if any of you guys have been to Iceland, but it's like if you see a gas station, you have to stop because there's no gas anywhere.
Okay.
So you'll run out of gas if you don't stop. So we stopped at the gas station, and we're all like, really tired. We were like driving, like smoking weed the whole time, like just going through, like kind of spaced out, crazy place. And I was like, look behind the gas station counter, and there was this huge warehouse full of like fur. There's just like fur everywhere. And so I was asking the person at the counter, I was like, what's with all the fur? And they're like, oh, well, we're not actually a gas station, we're a furrier. Like that's our job.
Yeah.
We just have a gas station because the government basically paid for us to end up with pumps, because if we didn't have a gas station here, you wouldn't be able to make it to the next city. So I was like, can I check it out and buy some fur? They're like, yeah, of course. So we made a connection with like the biggest vendor of Icelandic sheepskin in the world, because it was a gas station.
It
so we ended up with this black fur and some brown, and you'll see over here when you go check it out. And so it was just sitting in my studio for a long time. Like Simon and I had these furs, and we'd sort of put them on our chairs and stuff. And we're like, what do we make with these? And then one day, I don't know, like let's make a chair that has like, feet that are anthropomorphic, that look like real hooves. They're like actually feet, and they're bronze, and let's put horns on it and make it like a beast. And that's kind of how it happened. I don't know. It was just sort of
just a conversation.
We got there, and then also like now it's become a little bit more heady. It's like they're all like characters, so they're sort of they're portraits of friends, basically.
You name them?
Yeah, we name them all, and some of them are specific buddies,
friends.
and some of them are like celebrity portraits, and they don't look anything like the friend or the celebrity that they would be based on, but it's more just how can you like make a personality with very little, like just with the body shape. There's never any eyes on them. It's usually just horns and sometimes a tongue.
And the feet.
And the feet. But they really have personalities. They're like super. Sometimes they have like a penis or something too. They're really fun to make. And that was sort of the precursor to the Afterwards project. Yeah.
Because it's like the same essence, no? But it's a different
like
outcome,
an evolution with different material.
Exactly, and it's just in the other part of the world, no?
Well, now we started making these things like 9 feet tall, and we're gonna make one where it's like 9 feet tall, but you can like grab onto the fur and like open the back, and then there's like a stairway that you like go down into, so they like become portholes, or so it started with just a toy. But
so
now,
the first was a toy, and
the first was just a little toy.
It started a chair.
Making chairs and so the toys are like studies, sort of like maquettes. And then and now we're making these really big ones that are portholes into like different cerebral dimensions, I guess is the idea, but they're more just like space and time.
Wow.
Reality. It's just fun. It's cool. Yeah. So like the Beasts are a really fun, cool project. So.
I love them. I love them, and I love the continuity that we started backwards, no? But I think it's super cool.
Yeah, totally.
That every how could you say, like every project you do, no? they're very different, but they have the essence,
They
no?
have a
Like, you know, they have,
relationship,
I mean, it's your essence, of course, no? But they have something in common,
Well,
no?
early in our career, when we'd only made like 15, 20 pieces, people were like, this doesn't make any sense. They don't relate to each other at all. But I think we just had to expand, and then you have these like pieces that get closer and cross over, and they all start to make sense eventually.
Yeah, like if you see the map now, no? Yeah, they're connected very well, no?
And we'll work on all different types of material, so there'll be like stone and bronze and fur and beads or whatever. It's fun. So they'll always end up looking different, but they're cool. Yeah, they're just coming from our head. I think when you're making like good work, you're doing it from a very personal place. So of course.
Talk us a little bit more about another story. We went to Africa, we went to Iceland.
Yeah, we were in Africa, we go to Iceland, now we're
What's
here.
Gonna happen
I don't know
in
who
Mexico,
I'm going to meet
no?
here. Yeah, somebody. Yeah. Well, we're working in Tijuana already, a little bit, which is great. Yeah, they have, there's actually this factory there that invented dichroic glass tile. So dichroic glass is like, I don't know if you guys know what that is. It's like, you could have a sheet like this, and if you turn it like this, it'll be purple when it's tipping down like this, and it'll be like turquoise if it's tipped like that. And so they're specifically really good at tile. So we actually trained a factory there to do our hextile process now. So we do some of that in Mexico, which is rad. So that's like a pretty straightforward industrial process, but again, it's a community that we've now engaged with that's become like a really beautiful, awesome family. So, you know, it's cool.
I think a nice outcome will be, no?
Yeah, it's nice. Great. It's super, super fun.
You started like a while ago, or it's just a...
So the textile we were making for, you know, like probably 2 years, and then there was like a 7 to 8 month sort of training process with the factory. So yeah, they've been making our stuff for probably 7 or 8 months now, the textile stuff. It's amazing. And it's like they've taken it to a whole nother place because they're obsessed. So that's all that factory works in now. They're obsessed. So they're doing really, really, really amazing.
Like you opened a new door for the factory, no? Like
well, or they opened a new door for us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it was like a
cool.
mutual. That's the thing. Like you have a good business partnership when everybody's winning.
That it goes both ways.
Yeah, totally. So it's really cool. There's this far out dude that works there named Robbie, and he's just like really insane about making process perfect, and it's cool. It's like this super heavy industrial process, but yeah, it's a fun thing. Yeah, I don't know. I like Mexico. I like to come down here more often.
Well, you will. I think so.
Yeah, for sure. So,
I don't know. Maybe we can open to questions. So
questions.
We're on time, but it would be nice to have a conversation. No sé si tienen preguntas, que estaría bueno.
Have you ever got the idea to travel to Oaxaca or be influenced by this pre-Hispanic art that could be, I don't know, this mixed up between industrial design and more like traditional design with Mexico?
You know, I was going to go to Oaxaca because a friend of mine makes mezcal down there, and he actually has a really... Yeah, I like mezcal a lot. Mezcal and tequila, man, that's all that's my style. But he has a really cool factory where they make mezcal, and then they utilize all of the pulp from the agave to like make the labels, and he makes a bunch of paper products. So we were going to go down there because they have all this resource that's not getting used, it's just getting wasted, and they wanted to make paper products. So we were going to engage with the women there to design some stuff, but it never really worked out. But maybe I will. I don't know. Oaxaca sounds great. I love the food. Like the tamales are like wrapped in banana leaves and like lots of like really fresh like fish and stuff like that. I would love to go to Oaxaca. Yeah, hell yeah. I don't know. Yeah, totally. But yeah, I would love to go. I was in the museum, the anthropology museum, and there was a whole section on Oaxaca, and there's like all kinds of red, like big heads and all kinds of cool stuff. I really liked they also have like these bowls with like jaguar feet on them, I guess. Super cool, because it's kind of like what we do. And like I was copying them and I didn't even realize it, which is cool. So yeah, I would love to go. Any other questions? You don't have to ask a question.
But
if
it
you want.
would be nice. But what you said now, I got this image of what you presented in Miami.
Yeah.
The wooden tables also, no?
Yeah.
How was that also? Did you carve it all by yourself?
Yeah, I carved that table with my guy Ryan Belly. He works with me, and so the two of us, we were in Aspen. We carved it there, which was cool. Yeah, that table was fun. I love carving wood. I grew up carving stone, so carving wood is like a luxury. It's so much softer. Like wood takes at least 6-7 times longer. Yeah, so we made that out of American walnut, which was cool. And since we were carving it in Aspen, it was like we ended up with this area where we could carve, where we were like looking at like pine trees and nature and like under the sun. It was really nice. Now if I carve like in my studio at home or like in this plastic tent, and I'm like, oh, this sucks.
Yeah, yeah. Like how many hours?
Totally. Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. Perdón, no sé si tienen más preguntas o algo que. Sí.
What do you think about Mexican art? Like, I don't know, Tamayo or maybe Orozco?
Yeah, I'm way into it. Like, Orozco did the supermarket thing, right? Which is so cool. I'm a big Barragan fan for sure. Like, he's the shit. And yeah, totally. And like looking at all the stuff at the Anthropology Museum, like there's like a real heavy, amazing endowment of great expression here for sure. I think we were having this conversation earlier too, where if you look at sort of the arc of art and the art capitals of the world and how they sort of changed, it really sort of, well, at one point it was like every sort of society had their own art capital, but as the world became more global, it was like Spain and Paris sort of started it off, you know, with like surrealism and other stuff, and then it kind of moved into the rest of Europe, and then it moved to New York, was sort of the art capital of the world for a long time, like when you had like Keith Haring and Basquiat and all those dudes bouncing around and doing cool stuff. And now I feel like LA and Mexico City have become the seat that's responsible for the growth of the art world. From like, it has a new perspective, and I feel like it's becoming these like sunnier, cooler parts of the world, you know, like because we have something to offer that's different than this sort of like historical heaviness, really. Like, I'm proud to be from a city where no one really gives a shit what you're doing, because like if you're in Paris or New York or something and you're making something, there's going to be a million people that have an opinion as to whether or not it's like valid, whereas like in LA, and I'm guessing here, I haven't spent much time, but just from what I've heard, like you make something and no one really cares, but in a good way. No one's going to tell you, no, like you didn't study with so-and-so for long enough. So there's like a real freedom to the work that comes out of Mexico. There's a real freedom to the work that comes out of LA for sure. There's lots of good like Brazilian artists and stuff too. I feel like it's all about like southern areas now at this point, which is cool. I'm into it. Yeah, for sure. Hell yeah. Big time.
¿Otra pregunta que tengan?
Alright, it's all good. Fuck it. Thank you guys.
Gracias por venir.
Yeah.
Gracias. Thank you. It was awesome.
No, so fun.
Yeah. Thank you.